Welcome to Stock Therapy with Penny Queen. Today I have CEO Corrado de Gasperis with Comstock. Welcome to the show again.
Thanks for having me, Penny. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you back. You've been very busy.
I
So
have,
I already wanted to catch up with you, but today you had some great news. So I'd like you to just share it and explain it to shareholders.
yes, thank you. Yeah, we announced today um, a remarkable alliance with Hexus Biomass. So Hexus creates an incredibly high yielding, high fiber, fast growing, woody like. We call it woody like. It's not wood, it's xanograph. She brands it, Wendy Owens, the CEO, brands it xanograph. And it's just an incredibly fast growing, high yielding, but even more remarkable, it can grow in very marginal or difficult environments. It can grow in the high desert, in many cases. Obviously, the better the environment, the faster it grows, the stronger it grows, but it can grow in places that you would normally not expect or be able to grow any crops. And it has an extraordinary characteristic of enriching the soils and rejuvenating the soils. So we've never seen anything like it in its speed and its magnitude. So with our industry leading yields, we were already commercializing across an abundant mass of feedstocks. But think of it this way, even though we were excited to identify pockets of feedstocks in Oklahoma, in Minnesota, in Arkansas, and of course all over the world, now you can de-risk those waste feedstocks by having right behind you, these additional crops, these higher yielding crops that won't ever stop, that will just be there in perpetuity on those lands. It gives us the ability not only to, we're previously we're optimizing our scale, million ton facility here, 750,000 ton facility there. Now you can cluster facilities. You can maximize, not optimize, the platform. And so, honestly, the fact that they're so high yielding themselves, the fact that they can allow us to grow and scale, like for each facility or multiple facilities, is where we start using the term, energy dominance in the United States. I mean, we went from being able to do, large billions of gallons to, is there a limit? Is there a limit? And then people said, well, what about the cost, Corrado? Remarkably, right? We're now getting feedstock at a much, much lower cost. So you get a better feedstock faster, more abundant at a lower cost. I think that the thing that knocked me off my chair was when you compare xanograss to, let's say, corn, or let's say soybeans. The analogy is you can get 2 and 10 barrels of oil per acre, from those vegetable crops. Xanograss can do 100 barrels per acre. So the magnitude of our improvement is tremendous. On the flip side, we've done analyses where, and that would be true in areas that were not previously growing anything. Now you're looking at scenarios where if someone's growing alfalfa, or someone's growing eucalyptus, or someone's growing some other alternative energy crop, now they can make 10, 20, 40 times the amount of money per acre. So you're not only going to create energy independence in many countries, dominance, in the United States, you're now going to create an entire agroeconomy that's sustainable, that enriches the soils, that doesn't exist today. And so it doesn't take a lot. I mean, people would think like 30 or 40 million acres is a lot. It's like 5% of our, agricultural farmlands. But you could change the world with it. So, I think one of our guys made the comment in the meeting, like it's a new standard for oil. And so we stole that headline, and threw it in because it very much is. It's the oil well. This is now tactically, practically the oil well that never stops producing.
The, a lot of biofuels are really in competition with people.
Yeah.
So seeing that like, that was one of the things that I originally liked so much is it's not in competition with food,
Mm.
but to make it better, to show, 50 times the production capacity of soy, 10 times the production capacity of corn, that makes it even better for me. So
Overwhelming. Yeah, I love that you said that. I want to take my hat off to Wendy Owens, right? Because her notion was A, don't compete with food, and B, stop taking the wood, stop taking the forest, like stop deforesting. Okay, we were focused on waste woods, of course, right? We still are, and we will be. But now, you won't compete with either one of
yeah,
those. Yet what you're creating is so profitable, so sustainable, so enriching of the soil. It's not net zero. You've now inverted. You are now net negative. Because think of it this way, the xenograss is coming up. It's sucking that carbon right out of the air. It's plugging it right into the ground naturally. It's a natural carbon sink, those roots. You cut it at the base. You don't pull the roots out. You cut it at the base. You get all that above ground carbon for fuel. You don't touch the below ground carbon. You are sequestering carbon. You are enriching the soil. You are net zero. You've inverted the curve. So this is the new standard in oil. It's not a tagline.
you never want to talk about carbon credits, so I won't make you, but I will note to any investors that are listening that sequestering carbon is an absolute pathway to carbon credits.
You make me laugh. I was just looking at our fuels team just put out an agenda for like, top three discussion priorities for project scheduling. And carbon credits showed up on the list for the first time following the Hexus
Yeah.
announcement, right? It's not coincidence.
No, no, not at all.
We always knew it was coming, right? I don't know that I've not want to talk about it. I guess not, because there's other priorities or other prerequisites. But with this on the horizon now, it's coming now.
Right. Well, I mean, I've spent the day, I keep looking at this news release over and over again because it really is. I don't want to use this word again, but I will. It's transformative.
It is. It
So
is.
I mean, the amount of forward progress you've made in just the past 6 months is incredible. But this got me really, really excited this morning. And it's led to a very good day. I think it's been a very good day in the market, and I have a feeling that it's going to continue to push you forward. So
Yeah, the potential now is, again, as I said it, the potential previously was huge. A lot of that has been de-risked even further, but it's grown, even exponentially from there, right? We don't want to sound too dramatic, but this is dramatic. The other thing I'd like to say is we could have done a supply agreement, right? We could have been a customer, you know, but when Wendy started using terms like quality systems, and integration and then the conversation about exclusivity comes up, right? And we don't, our goal is to accelerate carbonization. Our goal is to, make this as widespread as possible, right? Our conversations were all around ensuring we both have the capacity to grow this thing to the moon, not around anything else, and so we ended up investing in Hexas, similar to RenFuel, and we're looking very much forward to integrating, the way we operate. Don't mistake what I'm saying. They're an independent company. They're a phenomenal company. They're going to be an incredible company, but we're joined at the hip.
all right. So, and I'll just repeat these words again for investors that weren't paying attention. You've executed an agreement to secure exclusive rights to Hexus's intellectual properties in liquid fuels applications.
Exactly right. They had a couple of little pre-existing arrangements, which we totally respect, but going forward, it's to the moon together.
Yeah, very, very exciting news there. Anything else you want to say on that front?
No, other than just we're very excited to move forward. Well, last thing I would say is, Oklahoma's the first site, that we're down to the final straws of, nailing down that first site. It's an important milestone for us also for the incentives that Oklahoma gave us. But now we've announced as part of the deal that we're going to put a 5,000-acre Hexus farm, right on that site, because that's our commercial demonstration facility. That's where we want to ensure everything gets integrated, works properly, yields, ASTM specs, pathway approvals, and now feedstocks, right? So that's going to be one of the first things that we integrate into the solution. That's really exciting.
All right. Well, this this news release definitely made me a happy girl. So thank you.
We were giddy, at first when we met, but then the more we spoke, the more we saw the philosophical alignment, the operational alignment. We said, this is gonna make a big difference in the world.
All right. Well, then let's move on to the
Please,
shareholder letter.
yes, please. Yeah,
I know you've had a busy week talking, answering questions, but I thought it would be a good idea to just address the general questions and give people a better idea of what this next what to look forward to on February 14th.
absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's been busy in a good way. I don't know that this was perfectly planned, but we were also in Florida last week, and we might have met over 100 new investors in 6 cities. And we were happy that the news was out before we met with them. We wanted to make sure we could share it properly, and but then also reaching out to our top, and it's not a top number. It's just starting at the top and keeping going and going and going, and in the meantime, getting outreach from people who are either confused, curious, want clarification, etc. So it's been really positive. I mean, we really love the opportunity to clarify what we met. We know there was a lot in that letter, so we weren't surprised by the reaction, although I did feel it was dramatic overreaction, but we weren't. I can't say we were surprised that there was a negative reaction, but because there's a lot in there. But uh, the fact that we've got these two businesses that are not just commercializing, but commercializing in addressable markets that are just massive, commercializing in addressable markets where we don't see a clear competitor. We don't see a clear competitor. It- Commercializing in addressable markets in both metals and fuels, where the largest blue chip supply chain participants, right, are engaging us, customers on the metal side, the largest energy and utility companies in the country, suppliers, right? The largest refiners or users of these materials. On the fuel side, the most advanced technological solutions from the National Renewable Energy Lab, MIT, the Department of Energy, RenFuel, now Hexas, all engaging us for most intents and purposes, NREL exclusive, Hexas exclusive, RenFuel exclusive. They're saying this is the horse to ride. This is the train that we want to be connected to. And it's really rewarding. It's really gratifying. And then on the other side, the largest renewable refineries, the largest energy companies, frankly, in the world engaging. So we have all that. And it is frustrating to talk about dilution, A, because I'm a shareholder, and B, because our teams in the last 4 years, I don't know the exact number, let's say 50 million. Our teams in the last 4 years, and I'm talking direct R, direct D, right? R&D and commercialization efforts, let's say 50 million. Two technologies that 4 years ago were on paper They were on paper. Today, one fully operational, the other signed five, I would say, landmark commercial agreements in the last 7, 8 months with 6% engineering fees, 6% perpetuity royalties, and 20% equity stakes. 5 for 5. And we haven't even scratched the tip of the surface of the deals that we're engaged in. Those five, and I think I said this before, did little leapfrogs on us. We were focused initially in the United States. We're focused with industry players and competent project developers, competent biofuel energy professionals, in some cases in conjunction with the local jurisdiction, in some cases in conjunction with engineering or construction, came forth and said, no, we're ready to adopt your technology. We want to sign an agreement now. We're saying, well, we were planning to build a facility first. No, 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 no. We'll build the same size facility. Let's go. So now you've positioned that in the last 4 years. Let's say we deployed 50 million directly into it. I mean, in any other story, this would be like one of the greatest innovation to commercialization achievements. And please don't get me wrong. As far as we're concerned, we haven't achieved anything yet. Okay. But it would be, in terms of advancement, one of the most remarkable. It will be viewed in hindsight that way, I'm sure. But because our market cap, unfortunately, averaged about the same amount of money, we had that much dilution, right? Doubling the outstanding shares. That's not the ideal. That's not what we would have intended. However, right, it is a fraction compared to the value that we're looking to create here. It is a fraction of the value that we're planning to create here. And you know what? There's another perspective on it. Could we have been a private company and done a $50 million venture capital, round? Yeah, none of our existing shareholders would have the opportunity to participate in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we like it. We don't like the dilution. Please don't get me wrong. But we need capital to grow these businesses. So now I'm at the table. I'm at the table with billion-dollar companies, tens of billion-dollar company. I'm not exaggerating, $100 billion company. And, we have to come into these discussions ready to answer a question. What's going on with, your share price? Like, what's going on with your capital structure? Can you guys handle what we're about to do together? And then in a different context, same meeting, same discussion. If we do invest, like, what's our exit strategy? Where do we get liquidity? How do we do this? And so you get energy people wanting to invest in fuels, you get resource people wanting to invest in metals. And so it became clear to us, not how, but it became clear to us that ultimately we need to give assurances that ultimately there'll be two public companies. A metals and mining company with a ridiculous growth profile, a fuels company with equally, if not maybe more ridiculous growth profile. Both critical to the country, both critical to our domestic energy and mineral needs. Frankly, both global, ultimately both global. So we feel like we're at such an incredible point, intersection point, and by then increasing our authorized capacity, then we have the capacity to engage, to transact, to complete these deals. None of the deals that we're engaged in, that we're positioning for, I can't imagine would do anything other than delight our shareholders. Really delight our shareholders, delight us, of course, but it would bring the credibility, it would bring the certainty, it would bring, the eyeballs, and it will bring the capital. It will bring the foundation that's really needed to unlock this thing. So I thought there would be, and frankly, there has been, like, in the first 20 or 30 conversations, as we're working our way through the shareholder list, there's really great responses. There's really great understanding and receptivity. So just keep going, right? I don't have any doubt. Like the vote's fine, right? But we don't, we want, this is not just an opportunity to, clear a proposal and a vote. This is an opportunity to really engage our shareholder base, to really, get more specific, more clear, get, intimate's not the right word, but as close to that as we can get with their understanding of what we're trying to do.
Well, for the shareholders that were upset by the news, I think my biggest message to them is from a share value point of view, we were set back 1 month. That's all. If you look at the value of the shares today, you look at the value of the shares a month ago, it's just about even. From an opportunity standpoint, I think it was a bit shocking to some people, but when I read through it, it made perfect sense, especially with who you're dealing with, the structure of the company. But I just looked at it and thought, here is another great opportunity for the stock itself. I'm not talking in the investment. The story of the investment has only gotten better as we've moved on. But as things go for shareholders, there's, up and downs when they're looking at like a daily balance. And I saw
Sure.
what a great reset, and we're building up again. And you can see that people are looking deeper into the story and they're starting to understand better. So the idea of turning this into two companies eventually, making much cleaner stories for both of them, because
Yes.
the metal side is so compelling, but it ends up being
It often,
like the ugly sister by comparison. When you're talking about fuels, you're like, it's beautiful. It's like that. I mean, for me, for somebody, don't tell anybody on the metal side I said that. It's I mean it in a
it's so,
for me, I invest in clean tech. So the fuel side, the urban mining side absolutely makes perfect sense. It resonates so well, but I'm also a mining investor because I'm a bit of a degenerate. And when you look at the structure, it's beautiful. And
yeah,
so you've got these, two stories that pair very well together.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
no,
you've got the fuels, which just they both appeal to different crowds and they're both so good.
yeah. I don't have any doubt that, like, as they are independent in the sense that they're their own public entities, the access to capital will be so much more efficient. And efficient doesn't just mean lower cost of capital. It just doesn't mean minimizing any potential dilution. It means getting the right type of keen investors who want to be there, who create this titanium foundation in the capital base. You can do that so much more effectively. It's not impossible to do it in the current structure, but it's not anywhere near as practical and as easy to do it, and so that's a thing. It's funny though, when you talk about metals, like, you make me laugh, but the concept that if we have 100,000 ton facility, running full, that we could be producing, 3.5 million ounces of silver per year. And the largest silver mine in Nevada is just a little over 4 million. So that if we had our second facility up and running full, we would be by far the largest silver producer in the country. You're literally now saying there is a possibility we could be the largest silver producer in the world. Okay. I mean, and that is not a stretch. Now, when we say a silver mine that never stops producing, let me clarify. When Core Rochester, the mine that Core, owns, Mitch Krebs is the CEO. I know him very well, right? They do 4+ million ounces a year. Every year, their reserves get depleted.
Yeah.
Then again, uh, not us. It's growing.
Yeah. Shrinking mine life, growing mine life. I
Almost,
mean,
I remember saying to our miners, and this was like in 2015, how do we achieve sustainability? And, a couple of the guys are not with us anymore. They're like, it's a finite resource, Corrado. It's impossible. It's just, it's really, and I got to tell you, like, I never even began for a minute to envision that we'd be sitting where we are today with this possibility. So I don't want to sound arrogant. Like, I had no idea how you would do that. And it wasn't my idea, right, to go into photovoltaics, right? It was just brilliant. It was just brilliant.
Well, let's talk about some of the basics of splitting companies, of
Yeah,
reverse share or
yeah, yeah,
rollbacks. And just for some of the investors have never been through either situation.
yeah.
So I keep hearing from a lot of people asking in a spinoff, would they hold shares in both companies?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so let's talk about the reverse split first, and then let's talk about the forward split or the separation second. So I want to first say, um, I want to say sincerely, like, I'm sorry. I don't know if I said this already on the call, but I have been on record saying, people ask me, are you going to, do you need to do a reverse split? It's almost always in the context of your New York Stock Exchange listing. And I said, no, like, we're listing, our listing status is fine. We don't have any concerns about that. But, well, do you think you would do one? I find it highly unlikely. I don't see a scenario at all where we would do one. I've said that, and I meant it, then as we evolve through 2024, we're advancing forward, we're deploying this capital, we're coming up to our authorized share limit. And that wasn't planned, okay? Like, I was befuddled when we went from, like, a 40 or 50 cent share price down to like a 15 cent. I was befuddled because in my lane, things finally were moving faster. We were validating higher gallons, we were building a demonstration facility. We finally were getting there, right? We were finally getting there. And we, for, I guess, in fairness, it took longer than people thought. So we were losing some, I guess we were losing some credibility there. We were losing some support there. That resulted in more dilution than we planned for. Now we have to increase our authorized capacity in a good way. Why? Because we don't have any listings concerns. We don't have any liquidity issues, right? What do we have? We have strategic and financial partners of magnitudes that want to put us in a new state of reality, for lack of a better way to describe it. So I said, okay, let's do the homework, let's do this work. And it became clear that the straight increase of the authorized shares, which probably would have upset very few people, right? Um, and this is ironic, right? The mechanical requirements to do that are extremely onerous and puts us at risk of not getting to the finish line, even if people are supportive. Like, literally, you could have the majority or a vast majority of your shareholders vote yes on this, but not get enough of, to clear this artificial threshold. And then we were educated that, if you do a reverse split and you do not decrease those same authorized shares in the same proportion, you effectively end up in the same place. And I'm like, well, that's odd. So you're saying that's a routine matter that, has a normal voting threshold like we would do at any other annual meeting? Absolutely. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to call the NYSE. No, you know what? I'm going to go visit with them. So, I'm walking through New York in the cold, I meet them, go through, yeah, no, that's a routine matter. It's done frequently. And so we concluded, and I remember the board meeting where we debated it all, and we concluded it's the best thing for our shareholders, right? You have to ensure this capacity, you have to ensure all of these things get done properly. I said, some people are going to be mad at me because I've said it, that we're not doing a reverse split, but we're not doing a reverse split in the context that I said it. We're not doing it in a spiral. We're not doing it backtracking. We're not doing it with a risk of delisting, and we're not doing it with liquidity issues in our share price. In our share trading, on the contrary, it's robust. So, and we've got all these things lined up. And by the way, people aren't going to have to take my word for this, right? News like Hexus is going to continue to come between now and mid-February. And it's going to come between mid-February and the end of March. And it's going to go from April to July, right? This thing is rolling. So Yeah, so I think on that thing, I'm sorry, if my statements, and I also understand, I guess the last point I want to make on this, then we could talk about the next point, is I understand that 90, maybe more than 90% of reverse splits are in the bad scenario that I described. People are trying to avoid a listing, a delisting. People are trying to, take a last gasp breath and, try to stay alive. That's not us. Okay. When I was hired to restructure this company 15 years ago, it was a mess. We did a reverse split. Okay. Shareholders approved it. Share price just based on reverse split was 65 cents. Within 2 months, it was at $4.50. Why? Because we had a plan, because we had capital lined up, because we had all the right things in place. This is the same thing as far as I'm concerned. So I hope that people will understand it. I know all the shareholders we've talked to understand it, so we're moving forward on that. And it's important though. It's important that everyone that is not clear gets an opportunity to hear me explain it and understand it. So we're doing our best to reach everybody. We'll respond to everybody that reaches out, that's for sure. On the split of the companies, so that is forward, right? It's after February.
Yeah.
And really, let's think of it this way. The goal is what we talked about earlier. Ensure that each of these companies gets the right amount of the right capital that is not only investing, but to some degree vested in the success of those companies getting over the finish line. The SBC term sheet was designed for exactly that. Okay. And we are still engaged in those conversations. However, other capital sources have come to the table. Other capital sources who are more inclined to invest in a subsidiary level have come to the table. Other capital sources that are strategic in that they're not only bringing the capital, and please don't let me disparage or make a mistake. Companies like SBC and the capital partnership that we're forging with them is amazing. But strategically, there's license agreements, there's joint development agreements, there's joint investment into facilities that the other side wants to do. What I feel good about is all parties are still engaged to a positive end. It's going to be different, I think better, but it's going to be different. And we need to fix this capital issue from all of them, right? To be able to move it forward. So in one way, this is just a step in a very important journey. Now, I mean, if we just did a spin-off, shareholders should be delighted, right? Assuming we're properly capitalized, assuming we're progressing the way and we're performing the way we intend to, be delighted because they're going to get shares in both companies, right? They're going to have opportunities in both companies, right? There's many ways to do it. There's tax efficient ways to do it. There's tax inefficient ways to do it. But there's no scenario where we do it at the loss of the existing shareholder. That's not an option. In every case, it's to the benefit of the existing shareholder. Now, this is another example of should we wait before we say this, right? And we debated it heavily. But if the ultimate destiny is you will have two public companies with more efficient accesses to capital, with stronger capital bases, with a simpler, easier way to address the market, then we wanted to let people know that's what's coming. We had a lot of people say, well, you need to tell them specifically. We don't know specifically. We don't know specifically. It would be a mistake to do that. We also were counseled, that if we announce a specific securities transaction in a subsidiary in a forward way, it could prohibit us from doing other transactions, right? So we can't do that because we're in the middle of those other transactions. Yet it is material to let our shareholders know that this is direction that we're going. So we felt it was important to say it, even if we didn't have, specificity to the level that, we could have. It's just,
Well, I am taking that as potential, likely, and a goal.
yeah,
And I very much appreciate having that context and color added to the letter because it speaks more of a plan. And I've seen a lot of uh, reverse splits. And I know that when they are done in retreat, they end poorly. When they are done with a plan, they work really well. One of the bigger players in my portfolio did one in August. They're up 25%. And this is, 25% is no small thing. We may be confused after seeing, the amazing gains that Comstock is able to create, but 25% is no joke for any company. It is massive and it's well planned and it goes well. So
yeah. This is a critical, we have the plans around it. This is a critical step in the plan, but it's just one step. And the rest of all of it is in motion. So it's a very exciting time. It's a very exciting time.
yeah, there is no lack of excitement with Comstock. That is this you know, I feel like I haven't been around these parts for very long, but there's been a lot that's happened. So when I first saw that and I went, well, when you do a reverse, the thing you really need is good news flow. And I thought, oh, I have no concerns. I've seen what can happen here. So
Yeah.
I think
We have a big pipeline and, we can't perfectly always control like when, transactions get finally concluded. We generally don't artificially push them for purposes of release. We let the teams get them done properly and in the best possible way. And sometimes we have a little bit of time when there isn't much. Sometimes we have a little bunchy, but right now we have quite a bit, we have quite a bit in the pipeline. So it'll be great to keep that going.
all right. Well, as always, if you have anything else for shareholders, we'd love to hear it.
That's good for now. We're very, very busy in everything,
Yeah.
right? Metals is busy as heck, fuels is busy as heck. And of course, now at corporate, we're really excited about, I mean, that's the positive side about having a special meeting is, you really get the direct engagement with all of our shareholders, many, not all, obviously, but as many as possible. So we'll just look to keep it going.
All right. Well, I am more than happy to have you back if anything comes up. So
Love to.
thank you for talking with me today.
My pleasure.
All
Have a
right.
great day.
Have a great
Bye.
one.